Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. First of all, I want to say Happy New Year to everyone. Wishing all of you guys an extremely successful and prosperous 2025. Since it's the new year, I figured I would reintroduce myself once more. My name is Oge. I'm a second year grad student studying astronomy and astrophysics at the University of Washington. And I made this YouTube channel to share my journey with all of you guys. I'm here to give you guys tips. I'm here to give you advice. I'm here to share my own stories, and I'm here mainly to inspire other people to pursue the same. It's also recently occurred to me that I have 200 subscribers on YouTube, which I find to be absolutely amazing and mind-blowing because there are maybe 10 people that I've told that this channel even exists. So to the other 190 of you guys, hello. Nice to meet you all. It's nice to know that I have a growing community and people find my videos entertaining or helpful. So to all of you new followers out there, hello, nice to meet you. It's wonderful to have you here. Welcome to the family. So today I wanted to make this video to introduce my second project that I've been working on in my PhD. As some of you may know, I'm mainly a theorist. Most of my research consists in working with galaxy simulations, a lot of computational astrophysics. I don't do much observing. However, I wanted to push myself and take on a project that requires a lot of observational methods and actually getting data from telescopes. So today I'm going to be introducing my observational project here and now. Let's get started. So the title of this project is called Exploring the Baryonic Shift, Cold Gas Dominance in Dusty Star-Forming Galaxies at Cosmic Dawn. This project is a little bit of a deep dive into the early universe, specifically at a time when galaxies are evolving and forming incredibly fast, and the universe is just a very, very busy place in general. We refer to this time period as the Epoch of Cosmic Noon. This is at about redshift 2. It's hypothesized that about half of all the stars that we see in our visible universe were formed within this very short period of time. Also, for those who are a little bit unfamiliar with some cosmological terms, the term redshift is a key concept for understanding the universe. It's how we measure cosmic distances as well as we measure cosmic age. So when something is redshifted, it means that the light from distant galaxies are being stretched by the expansion of the universe. So we see it on the more red side of the electromagnetic spectrum. So if you're looking at a galaxy that is at like redshift 7, for example, it's very, very far away and it's very, very old. A galaxy that we see at redshift 7 was either formed or existed at a time when the universe was only 5% of its current age right now, which is 13 billion years. At the Epoch of Cosmic Noon, or redshift 2, the universe is about 3 billion years old. For those who are a little unfamiliar with how stars form when cold gas collapses in to then form a star. At least we think that's how it works. So if we're seeing this bursty rate of star formation happening at cosmic noon, then we can assume that there are ample amounts of cold gas just before this period in time. The only issue is that this hasn't been statistically measured significantly, at least. So it leaves a question of just how much gas was there available for all of this star formation to happen within the early universe. And that is where my project comes in. So the key question that I'm trying to answer is, what are the gas mass fractions of these large galaxies that we see beyond redshift 2? So the galaxies that I am working with extend from redshift 3 all the way out until redshift 6. However, in making these estimates of gas mass fractions, there's a little bit of a challenge. So the most abundant element in the entire universe is molecular hydrogen, also known as H2. It is very hard to get measurements of molecular hydrogen at such large distances away. It's very, very hard to detect. Their emission lines are extremely faint just because there isn't a prominent molecular dipole moment with molecular hydrogen. Essentially, all that means in short terms is that it doesn't really emit much light. It's a very faint signal. It doesn't produce enough signal for our instruments to read, and sometimes even these signals can get redshifted into other regions that aren't directly linked to the host galaxy itself. However, not all hope is lost when trying to account for how much molecular hydrogen is in abundance at these galaxies. We can use a very useful tracer, which we refer to as dust. And dust are just carbonous grains or, complex molecules of carbon or even silicates that we can use to then trace molecular hydrogen. Dust and hydrogen stick together. Dust is also great because it regulates the cooling temperature of hydrogen and aids in the process of forming stars. Because like I said earlier, you need cold gas to form stars. So dust is great because it blocks visible light and it makes some parts of the galaxy a little bit harder to see. However, it re-emits this energy into the near infrared, which is great for telescopes to then pick up that emission, and we can get an estimate of just how much gas is available based off of the dust content. So the two instruments that I get my data from are the ALMA telescope in Chile, which ALMA stands for Atacama Large Millimeter / Submillimeter Array. And then the second instrument that I use that I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably familiar with is the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST for short. And this one is a space-based telescope. Probably one of the more powerful tools that we have out there for observational sciences in this day and age. When selecting galaxies for our sample, we wanted to make sure that there were two criteria that were met, that these galaxies were in the given redshifts that we wanted to find them in, anywhere from redshift 3 to about 6, and they also had to be dusty as well as star forming. So we want things to be dusty so that way we have a way to trace the molecular hydrogen, and also star forming simply because we want the galaxy to be active. And ALMA and JWST do a great job at providing us with sources meeting these criteria. Dusty galaxies are very, very hard to see in the optical for any other space or ground-based telescope. However, galaxies do shine really brightly in the submillimeter spectrum. So ALMA recently completed a survey that focused on finding dusty star-forming galaxies at high redshift. This was done by completing a blank sky survey. You just point your telescope at a blank space in the sky and see what you observe. So this survey covered about 600-ish arc minutes of the sky, or also known as about 10 degrees. It's just a way that astronomers measure how big certain portions of the sky are. So essentially, I think it would be like 10 times bigger than how you view the moon on the sky. Something around that. And within the survey, they found 37 dusty star-forming galaxies that had a very, very high signal-to-noise ratio, meaning that the signal was great. So those are part of my sample, as well as we then use the JWST Cosmos Web survey, which is intended to just map the entire universe in exquisite detail. I'm talking early universe as well as local stuff as well. So we cross-referenced the two catalogs and we were given our sample. So here in this map, I have the sources from the Exmora survey that was taken plotted in red squares. So all of these squares that you see here are the galaxies in my sample that have a signal to noise ratio of above 5. You'll notice that also part of the map seems to look incomplete. And I think that's because ALMA had like their system hacked or something like that. So part of the map never ended up getting completed, but it didn't interfere with any of our data, which is great. So together, these two surveys will give us a clearer picture of our galaxies at cosmic dawn. So now on to our main methodology, which is when we convert those dust observations into then molecular gas masses. So the way that we start doing this is by measuring the flux or the intensity of light that we received from the distant object. There is a relationship between dust and gas content, and this relation was borrowed from literature, from a paper by Nicholas Scoville. If you're interested in what the equation is, then I can also link the paper down below. I don't want to bore you with a lot of the mathematics and relations, but after doing this, we then calculate the total molecular gas content. I mentioned earlier that there weren't any statistical measurements done on this type of work just yet. So I aim to refine a lot of these estimates. Mainly I wanted to sample a large amount of flux as well as redshift samples and incorporate some uncertainties within our work. So I used the entirety of the Exmora catalog, which consisted of about 150 galaxies. So I included everything, not just the 37 that had the signal to noise ratio really high. Doing this can ensure really robust results. So to employ a more statistical approach, I ended up using a Markov chain Monte Carlo technique, which allows us to account for uncertainties as well as derive robust statistical estimates. That was a mouthful. So we use the Monte Carlo sampling to generate a range of dust to gas ratios, and we incorporate observational uncertainties as well as different properties that we already know about the galaxy. Our samples are then propagated throughout our model, and we generate a probability distribution for the molecular gas of each galaxy. This way we can estimate the average gas mass, and we can also estimate the spread of the confidence intervals, which then gives us a more comprehensive structure of the gas content within these distant galaxies. So in this figure here, I have plotted some of our results. They look a little bit strange, but here I have cosmic density of molecular gas across varying different redshifts. Plotted in the red points with the error bars are my results. The other symbols represent a multitude of different surveys that were taken from previous scientists. You'll notice that my results differ by quite a few orders of magnitude compared to some of the literature in terms of density of molecular gas. So we are seeing that a lot of the molecular gas abundance in dusty star-forming galaxies at these redshifts are quite low. So it does appear that the cold gas dominance does not lie within dusty star-forming galaxies. The other points done from different literature within all these other surveys do not account for dusty star-forming galaxies. They just account for galaxies between these redshifts. So if there is a baryonic budget, baryon meaning luminous matter, so anything not dark matter, but it does appear that the baryonic budget of molecular gas is not dominated by dusty star-forming galaxies. So where does all of this cold gas then lie if it's not within dusty star-forming galaxies? Are they within other kinds of galaxies? However, we do see that there is a correlation between redshift and molecular gas. There is an increase in the trend from redshift 8 to redshift 0. There is a huge increase in the molecular gas content, maybe just not as high as we were assuming or compared to some of the other galaxies in the other samples. There are a couple of next step techniques that we are going to take moving forward. We want to apply a stacking technique, which is going to enhance the signal of our different sources. As I've mentioned probably so many times in this video, these galaxies are at incredibly far distances away. We are talking about objects that are billions of light years away. What we intend to do is apply this technique called stacking, which involves combining multiple images of the galaxies and as well as their data points. If you're stacking these sub-millimeter galaxies, then it can enhance the sources, I think by a factor of 10 or even greater. Another topic of discussion that has been brought up is that dust only accounts for about 1% of the baryonic budget. If the dust content in the entire universe is already so small, then maybe using dust as a tracer isn't the best way to get an estimate for how much molecular hydrogen is abundant. So there is an alternative tracer to use, and that tracer is called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAH for short. These are very bright in emission in the mid-infrared. PAHs vary in size, so you can have very small grains as well as very large grains, and these are also crystalline structures. The molecules are quite large, and if you have these larger molecules that end up sticking to a lot more gas content, then you can get a much better estimate. So another next step in this project is to use PAHs as a tracer instead of just dust. I'm super excited to see where this project takes me. I feel like at some point I could probably end up combining my theory project and my observing project and come up with something like really cool and new. Who knows? I feel like there's a lot of overlap, especially in some of the discussion that I have with different supervisors. So maybe we'll come together and think of something new. But wouldn't that be awesome? But one of my goals as an astrophysicist is to be the most like well-rounded version of myself and to be able to be in between theory and observation. Like it feels really cool because not a lot of people do it. So like, I mean, fuck it. Somebody's got to do it. So it might as well be me, you know? Call me if you need a theorist and an observer expertise in the room. With that, I will bring this video to a close. Thank you so much for watching. To all of the new viewers, hello, happy that you're here. Feel free to give this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me or if you're curious about any of the research that I do. If you haven't seen my video on my theory project, you should definitely go check it out. I've included some really cool animations of my simulations there. If you have any questions about this project, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I'm happy to answer or even share some literature that you might be interested in. As usual, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.